Carl and Brendan here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. What's the point of a battle if not to take a risk? I have had this one in a list for over a year, and I keep pulling it off because, truth be told, I've been like, I can't play this because he either won't get it, or which sounds really rude, but I'll explain what I mean by that, or he'll say something so mean about it, I'll cry. I'll cry. So. Yeah, Touche Amore. The song is a forecast from the album Lament, which is their latest album released October 9th, 2020. Touche Amore are a post-hardcore band. Been around a while. In fact, the first album was released in 2009. So they've been around a fair bit. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 official albums, 6 if you include the complete re-recording of Dead Horse, the original album, the debut album. So this is the last track in the album, and I really enjoyed Lament. I really fucking did. And then I hit a forecast, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? What is going on here? And this is a song I still listen to today because it makes me tear up. And it makes me tear up because of the personal nature of it. But to understand that, we need to go back. Now, bear in mind, Lament was the first album I'd ever listened to Touche Amore in full. I've now gone back and consider myself a fan of the band. I really want to see them live. But before that, I had no knowledge of anything. So I heard a forecast not knowing the detail. So then I found out the detail. And the detail was this. Their previous album, released in 2016, is called Stage 4. And basically, almost all the lyrical content of that album is based around the death of the lead singer, Jeremy Bolam's mother, dying of cancer. So that album is completely based around, lyrically, her death and the dying of cancer. Cut to 4 years later, Lament, and obviously they had moved on to a certain degree. Of course, you know, it's his mother. He's never going to move on. I don't mean like that, but musically, Touche Amore had gone back to basics and gone back to being a post-hardcore band. However, there was a lot of buzz and a lot of talking about, you know, considering how heavy Stage 4 was influenced by that, at where the band was at now. And a forecast is an answer to that, about where he is in regards to dealing with his mother's passing, but also where Touche Amore are now. And the combination of, well, I don't want to spoil it, but put it this way, for the first 2 minutes, we won't be saying a word. You won't want to say a word because you've got to hit you listen. I have to ask then, Touche Amore though, are you a fan? Are you aware?
Not really aware, so nothing to do with the fan side of things. I recognise the name. I don't think I've ever listened to anything by them, or I don't think I've purposely ever listened to anything by them. Yeah, I mean, you know, you say some things that, you know, when you get into the post sort of stuff, sometimes while I do enjoy some, it can also sometimes be a struggle.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, there are bands and songs out there that I do love. So, you know, Fingers Crossed is one of them. Doesn't sound very like it's going to be massively uplifting and optimistic and positive, but that can be a good thing. So,
well, you love lyrics. This might be,
reading.
Yeah.
I'm reading them, or I've read them already, actually. But
oh, damn, he's read them already. All right, okay, right. Let's just get on with this. Right, in 3, 2, 1, go. And as he says during the opening talking bit, here's the record closer. And that's how the album ends. So I realized contextually, it makes it very difficult to listen to out of context. I think that's quite important.
Yep, 100%. That would be my main kind of comment on it is I don't fully understand. It feels, without having heard the rest of the album, like a bonus track. It doesn't, I mean, I don't know enough about the band to know if their sound is always like this. It feels raw, underproduced, or, you know, not overproduced. I don't know if that's the same thing. You know, like, you know, like, I don't, you know, don't take like this the wrong way, but when I was doing the beginning of it, all I kept thinking of was like, oh, and he doesn't like the Behave Me Asthma song because he was taking so long with the piano. I very much enjoyed listening to it. I will say that. So this isn't a, I don't mean any of this as a negative.
Of course,
I feel like even with the lyrics in it, it kind of gave me, not necessarily musically, but it kind of made me feel a little bit like listening to Kill Achilles, in terms of the kind of openness of the statement, you know.
Yep.
Similarities there, and you know, in some of the songs I listened to Kill Achilles, with the loss of a parent and the pouring out of it emotionally. I think if you're a big fan of this band and know more about the band, it would possibly have more impact, like some of the stuff he says, like for example, which, you know, I wasn't really kind of following all the way along, you know, like finding the patience for jazz and, you know, that sort of stuff. I know I don't need to understand that, and that's not the point of it, but, you know, when I know nothing about the band whatsoever, you know, it was kind of, some of those bits were lost on me. The drums at the end there's a bit at the end, the drums just playing for like 15 seconds in odd patterns that made me feel like it was like a bonus track, like, you know, left the mics on in the studio, sort of stuff, you know. But I liked it. I liked the drop in. It was unexpected. I assumed after, I don't know why I assumed, because the lyrics were done quite quickly. Right, okay, because actually I need to keep criticizing myself here. They weren't done quickly, that's the thing. But I was happily listening to them, that when I looked up after that to flick up to watch the remainder of the video, I realized there was only a minute left in the track.
Yep.
So at first I felt like, God, it's only a small passage of lyrics, and then obviously you have the last two lines that kind of get repeated in the more rougher vocals. And I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting like, oh, now I'm going to get like 4 or 5 kind of minutes of atmospheric, progressive, posty kind of music, you know, like expecting that to sort of happen. But it's like it's almost over now. So it's very kind of short. It feels like it's shorter than it is. I don't know, like it's weird. It feels like that was only a few seconds long, but it wasn't. It was 4 minutes long. But I don't know if that's just because I was actually engaged enough that I wasn't really noticing the time, which is a good thing. You know, it's hard to say I like his voice.
Okay.
Because I don't like it. I don't know if that's how he is all the time. You know, I like the fact that he sounds real and like there's emotion in it, and that I even like the fact he's got a bit of an accent, which actually sort of like works kind of really well. I like the shouted voice. I like the guitars. I didn't watch all the video. I'd be lying if I said I did. So I was reading the lyrics.
He's a visualizer anyway. Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. I saw the end of it when I could see him kind of in the studio a little bit, you know, sort of blurry and stuff like that. So I didn't know if I'd missed stuff earlier. Yeah, I like it. I feel like it's emotional. I feel like I would need to and want to, which is an important bit, know more about the album so that I could listen to that again and maybe feel even more impacted by it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's what I started us off by sort of saying. It's why I put this waffle on for so long, is because I do think, like Lament, you listened all the way through and then you hit this point and you're way more invested in it anyway. I just wanted to highlight it because ultimately I knew nothing about the history to do with his mother before I heard this. And it's still lyrically and musically, it hit me so differently. For people that listened along and maybe didn't know what either, I just want to point out a couple of lyrical points that were the ones that really caught my attention the first time. Obviously, I'm still out in the rain. I could use a little shelter now and then. Is a great analogy, a great way to reference how you can move on and deal with something tough and horrible in your life, but just every so often, like it will hit you and you'll still be out in that rain, and just a little bit of shelter would help. So don't be afraid to listen and talk to people. That, you know, I think that's super important, but it's this part. I lost more family members, not the cancer, but the GOP. What's the difference? I'm not for certain. They all end up dead to me. That fucking hammered me, because up to this point, that felt way more wider, but because obviously it's a reference to the GOP from America, political and all that. And that was just like, oh man, that's really powerful. Like, because obviously 2016 to 2020, 4 years, the big part of Trump period there. So it's obviously like, that's also been taking a personal heavy loss on him, like it did other people through family rifts and things like that. I just find that was amazing. But I am aware, completely aware, that it's such a strange track out of context. And to be honest, they are a post-hardcore band. That part at the end you get is predominantly what you get through Lament. It is a post-hardcore heavy album with obviously melody and melodramatic moments and stuff like that. I think you'd enjoy Lament. I think you're open-minded enough to enjoy it these days.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed listening to that, and you know, that's why it's a win, because my main thought is I want to hear that song again, but with the context, having listened to the album. You know.
I think that's enough said. What do you got there, reckon, then? What do you feel about it, particularly on its own, or if you're very aware of it in context? Drop it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?